please, and we can begin the formal part of our celebration. So thank you all for being here. This is really a wonderful event to be able to share with all of you and celebrate with all of you. My name is Ed Schlesinger. I'm the Benjamin T. Rome Dean of the Whiting School of Engineering, and as I say, it is truly my pleasure to welcome you all here today as we honor three outstanding members of the Whiting School of Engineering's faculty. All three elected to the National Academy of Engineering over the past 2 years. Our celebration delayed a bit due to a global pandemic, but there was never any question that as soon as the university's protocols allowed us to resume gatherings such as this, that we would proceed with the planning and then the celebration. I believe that celebrating the achievements of our faculty, their research breakthroughs, their publications and promotions, and the honors and awards they receive has an impact that extends beyond the individuals whose achievements we're recognizing, because it inspires all of us to continue to strive for excellence. And it instills in us a sense of pride in our institution and in our colleague, which motivates and strengthens our community. And of course, this is especially true this afternoon as we honor Yannis Kevrekidis, Russ Taylor, and Jim Bellingham on their election to the National Academy of Engineering, the highest professional distinction that can be accorded an engineer. And we are here to acknowledge their pioneering work and the impact that they've made on their fields of research and on the world, as well as the school, including their colleagues and the students they have mentored over the years. And I will say something that I just noticed as I was speaking with our three honorees, and this is where I go off script, and the folks who tell me what to say get a little nervous. But I'll point out that all three individuals that we're honoring today joined the faculty of the Whiting School before they were elected to the National Academy, indicating that we have really fine, discerning taste in hiring faculty members. I will also point out that Russ Taylor was here for about 25 years before his election. Yannis, however, was here for about 2 years before his election. And Jim just signed on the dotted line and got elected to the National Academy. So we're really getting better and better at this. But in all seriousness, I am really very happy that we're able to be here together to honor these outstanding engineers, these exemplary mentors, teachers, and colleagues. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Charles Menevo, the Louis M. Sardella Professor of Mechanical Engineering and Associate Director of the Institute for Data Intensive Science and Engineering, and a member of the National Academy of Engineering class of 2018. Charles.
Afternoon. Thank you very much, Schlesinger. As the Dean mentioned, I was elected some years ago. It seems really ages ago. In fact, I was calculating it's the year 2 BC before COVID. So it sounds anyway, I'm really honored and delighted to have been asked to make a few remarks here today. These are remarks of a sort of welcome to the NAE, to the three new distinguished members, Yannis Kevrekidis, Russ Taylor, and Jim Bellingham. I'm really delighted to be here. So I thought as the remarks would sort of take a little bit the shape of giving you a little bit of introduction to the NAE, a little bit of history. And I do that kind of for two purposes. One, to let you know what an amazing achievement it is, how hard it is to get elected to the Academy. And so really speaks to the merits and the contributions of these three distinguished colleagues. And also to let them know the additional amount of work they'll have to add to their already busy workload. And so I promised a little bit of history. I'm no historian, so I do have to get this correct. So I have some summary here, so I get the facts for whatever I tell you is appropriate and correct. So the NAE, the National Academy of Engineering, is a private nonprofit institution that enlists the aid of the nation's most knowledgeable engineers who volunteer their time to provide authoritative, independent advice on many of the pressing challenges that face the nation and the world. So very important, the NAE is not a professional society that somehow serves its members like ASME or IEEE and so on, but its members serve as advisors to the various branches of the US government. So here's a bit of history. So the NAE really grew out of the National Academy of Sciences and then later also the National Research Council. So as some of you might know, the National Academy of Sciences is of course much older. It was born during the Civil War. Its act of incorporation that was signed by President Lincoln on March the 3rd, 1863, remarkable in tough times to establish, be thinking about these sorts of things as well. So the NAS established service to the nation as its dominant purpose. Since then, the National Academy of Sciences has broadened its service to the government. During World War I, it became apparent that the limited membership could not really keep up with the volume of requests that were needed, especially for military preparedness. So in 1916, the Academy established the National Research Council. So the NRC is then sort of the World War I type timing. So under the authority of the National Academy's charter, afterwards, the National Academy of Engineering was created in 1964, and then the Institute of Medicine in 1970, which then became the National Academy of Medicine very recently in 2015. Okay, so the NAE has about 2,000 members. And what are some of the reports and some of the things it's done? So its earliest reports addressed US weights, measures, and pointage, examined magnetic deviation of compasses for the Navy's ironclad warships, the new ones at the time. It proposed, I find this great, it's really a big contribution. It proposed the creation of the National Park System in the US. It contributed to the founding of the USGS, the Geological Survey, and the reorganization of the National Weather Service. It suggested methods for controlling landslides as the Panama Canal was being constructed, and then later on studied highway safety as the nation's transportation system started growing. Some of the more recent reports that the NAE was involved in or created is a very famous one, Rising Above the Gathering Storm in 2007, America's Energy Future, 2009, America's Climate Choices, 2011, so already then, like, important topics. Then an important report dealt with the Deepwater Horizon blowout in 2011. And now in terms of what it actually means to get elected, let me tell you a little bit about numbers. So again, as I mentioned, there's 2,000 members of the NAE, and there's 12 sections, 12 separate areas. They sort of maps somewhat to the academic department. So Professor Kevrekidis is in chemical engineering, that's section 3. Professors Taylor and Bellingham, their main section is, they were elected to the interdisciplinary and special fields, which is 12. So that's section 12. I believe that's the last one that was added to cover these more interdisciplinary fields. And then they have secondary sections of computer science and earth resources, respectively. So in terms of numbers, every year there's about 80 to 90 or so new elected members in all of engineering. So in any of these sections, these 12 sections, there are about 6 to 9 new members every year. Now the NAE has a rule that somewhat painful for us in academia, but it's a good one, is that only half of the new members every year can be from academia. The other half have to be from business and industry to make sure that engineering in the US is really anchored in the real world, so to speak. So only half are from academia. So you can see if you start dividing by 2, in every section, every year, there's going to be only about 3 to 5, 4 new members elected. So to be selected among so few in any particular discipline is really a true recognition of these 3 scholars' amazing accomplishments in the field. Yannis Kevrekidis, class of 2020, is a giant in mathematical modeling of multi-scale processes, and his research focuses on algorithms, data, and computer-assisted modeling of complex dynamical systems. Russ Taylor, Class of 2020 also has been described as the father of medical robotics because he's pioneering the use of robotics and other computer-assisted interventions in brain, spinal cord, eye, ear, nose, throat, and other types of surgeries. Jim Bellingham, the newest addition, class of 2021, is a pioneer in the autonomous marine robotics field, and his leadership of various interdisciplinary collaborations have yielded important scientific discovery. So, welcome to the next chapter in your distinguished academic careers. Welcome to the NAE, and at Hopkins, we're really fortunate to have you as colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles. I'm now going to introduce each of our honorees with a little more detail and then invite them to come up here and say a few words. So, Yannis Kevrekidis joined Johns Hopkins as a Bloomberg Distinguished Professor in 2017 and was elected to the National Academy of Engineering in 2020 for his research on multi-scale mathematical modeling and scientific computation for complex nonlinear reaction and transport processes. He holds appointments in the departments of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering and Applied Mathematics and Statistics, and in the Department of Urology at the School of Medicine. Yannis's research focuses on algorithms, data, and computer-assisted modeling, and he is an expert in complex systems modeling and researches the dynamic behavior of physical, chemical, and biological processes, the types of instabilities they exhibit, the patterns they form, and their computational study. While collaborating extensively with experimentalists, his group's work concentrates largely on modeling and algorithm development for the study of complex dynamics. His work is interdisciplinary with applications ranging from protein folding to electrochemistry and from reaction engineering to network theory. It features components of high-performance computing and in recent years, an increased data science and machine learning component. Yannis also pioneered the approach known as equation-free computation, which draws from data mining and machine learning techniques to apply observations made in small space-time scales to systems on larger scales. Yannis's work is transforming the way scientists and engineers perform computer-assisted modeling of complex systems, and we are thrilled to be here today to recognize his leadership and his impact on the field. Congratulations, Yannis, and please take the podium.
Charles says a giant. I am broad, but not that big to be a giant. It is a real pleasure and honor to be here. I was thinking what to say. The first thing is, I remember when I was around 10, I put my hand in my pocket and found a $20 bill I had forgotten about. So this is a celebration I had forgotten about, and it is very nice of you that you actually did it after a couple of years. So it's been a wonderful trip. Started in Athens with my high school tuition teacher, to whom I think I owe a lot of becoming a scientist. My mother still has not forgiven me for dedicating my PhD thesis to him rather than to her. The Technical University in Athens, there were wonderful years, wonderful colleagues and fellow students. Then I went to the University of Minnesota, which for chemical engineers is a sort of mecca. I found out what it means that you walk in April on a snowed over pathway and people come by you in skis, right? Not very favorable, usual for Greeks. I was, my advisors and teachers there were giants of the profession. They're not with us anymore, but I'm very proud that I was there. My classmates are professors all around the world from there. I was in Los Alamos at the time that Soviets existed and research money rained from heaven, and what you could do depended on how much you could stay awake. And then I went to Princeton, where I spent 31 years with some interruptions. An amazing place. The undergrads, some of them were way better than I was when I was an undergrad. The grad students we worked together, the postdocs, the colleagues, the collaborators, the people to look up to. I did try to go back to Greece for a couple of years, didn't work out. I came back. And then I am grateful to Hopkins, who gave us a new life and a new beginning and wonderful things to work with. And then, as you all know, that play with academia, then there was, the sabbatical in Pasadena and the wonderful time in Dresden and the years in Berlin and Munich and Paris. And maybe the best thing to say for all of this is a dumb line from a television show. Find something that you like to do, and then you don't have to work even for one day in your life. Thank you all, and especially thank you to the students and the colleagues and the postdocs and the collaborators, and to Hopkins for giving us this new life and new beginning. Thank you. Shoot myself. I said everybody else I work together, and I didn't say about my family, without whom nothing would be possible, and without whom just waking up in the morning would not be fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Yannis. Thank you very much. Our second honoree, Russell Taylor, is a Johns Hopkins graduate from the class of 70 and the John C. Malone Professor of Computer Science, with joint appointments in mechanical engineering, as well as otolaryngology, head and neck surgery, radiology, and surgery in the School of Medicine. He directs the Whiting School's Laboratory for Computational Sensing and Robotics, and was the founding director of the Engineering Research Center for Computer Integrated Surgical Systems and Technology. Russ was elected to the National Academy of Engineering in 2020 for his contributions to the development of medical robotics and computer integrated systems. His work focuses on robotics, human-machine cooperative systems, medical imaging and modeling, and computer integrated interventional systems. And he was a pioneer and is a pioneer in the early development, as well as the current development, of medical robotics technology and computer integrated surgical systems. While at IBM's T.J. Watson Research Center, Russ was the principal architect of what became the RoboDoc system for joint replacement surgery, the first robotic assistant to be used in a major surgical procedure. Among his other groundbreaking achievements were the development of a surgical planning and execution system for craniofacial osteotomies and a robotic system for minimally invasive endoscopic surgery. You can see why I didn't go into medicine. Many of the features and concepts he pioneered are now commonplace in medical robotics, and Russ continues to make substantial contributions in all aspects of medical robotics. Russ is also a beloved and admired mentor to generations of students, undergraduate through doctoral, and certainly a worthy recipient of this honor. Congratulations, Russ.
Wow. After that introduction, well, first let me start out by thanking Ed for that really kind introduction, and actually for everything you've done to sustain and create the wonderful environment we have here for doing the kind of things we do. Induction into NAE, without doubt, was the greatest single academic honor I've received over my career. And also, I think as Charles mentioned, it does give a chance we have to give back in service to our country and our society. And I think that is part of what makes it such an honor. It might be appropriate for me to, well, just for a short time, it's hard for an academic to do for a short time, on my career. As Ed mentioned, I was an undergraduate here when the student body and the campus were much smaller. And I actually had a transformative experience of my life where I was working for Manny Belmont, writing Fortran programs in the basement of the library where the computer was for him and his graduate student, John Malone. It was truly, I think that is what really got me into Stanford, where I got my PhD, focusing on robotic systems. And then, as Ed mentioned, I spent 19 years as research manager, research scientist at IBM Research in Yorktown Heights before coming here in 1995. In terms of technical, I've always been interested throughout that entire time in developing systems where there's a three-way partnership between people, technology, and information to do useful things in the world, change processes. And initially, those were mostly focused on manufacturing. But while I was at IBM, as again Ed mentioned, I got very interested in could you do the same thing with that partnership for clinical medicine, for surgery, as we were doing for manufacturing. And that led to forming a research group within IBM for doing the things that Ed mentioned. However, at some point it became clear if you really wanted to do that, you needed to be in an environment where there were superb engineers, which we had at IBM, but also clinicians, and you could work together without a lawyer in the room. And this was a wonderful opportunity. So I came here in '95, soon after arriving, Louis Whitcomb, who I think is in the audience, helped. We wrote a proposal to get one of these very large NSF engineering research centers, which Charles, you should have mentioned also the ERC programs came out of an NAE recommendation to the government. And over about 11 years while we were spending the money out, we actually spent $65 million. And that led to the infrastructure that we have, and also helped us seed an industry. There are so many of our students in key places, both in industry and academia here. And also to the current LCSR, where Louis was the founding director, I'm the second director, grew out of the core group we put together with the ERC. And I think to some extent, although not entirely, the current Malone Center also was at least partly grew out of what we did. And I could go on and on about technical things, but let me just close by saying, I'm really acutely conscious that no one gets to the position where you're inducted alone. At least in my case, I was fortunate, unbelievably fortunate in my mentors and in my colleagues, both at IBM and here at Johns Hopkins. And I don't really have time to mention everyone. I do want to again say a bit about Manny Belmont, who had a profound impact on me and all of his students, and I was an undergraduate, and it changed my career. So I think part of what motivates me is to try to do the same thing for some of the students who get to work with me. I should mention Peter Kazantzidis, who was a postdoc at IBM, who also helped develop that groundbreaking medical robotics system, the RoboDoc. Greg Hager, I see Greg here, was also just instrumental in running the ERC and was the director of research. I see other faculty, Yulene Nortikita, Honor Man, Jerry Prince, who I actually was one of the reasons I came to Hopkins, was I enjoyed working with Jerry when I was at IBM. All my surgeon colleagues, and finally, Justice Yannis, I gotta mention my family, my son Sam, who is not here, and my wife Beverly, who put up with all those years. And so again, thank you everyone for the honor, and even more for the opportunity to work with you.
Thank you very much, Russ. Our third honoree, Jim Bellingham, was elected to the National Academy of Engineering in 2021 for his work in the design, development, and deployment of autonomous underwater vehicles to advance our understanding of the ocean and its resources. Jim joined Johns Hopkins in 2021 as a Bloomberg Distinguished Professor of Exploration Robotics with primary appointments in the Department of Mechanical Engineering and the Asymmetric Operations Sector of the Applied Physics Laboratory. He is also the director of the Johns Hopkins Institute for Assured Autonomy. Jim is a pioneer in the field of autonomous marine robotics and in the development of small, high-performance autonomous underwater vehicles, work that enabled a class of systems that are now widely used by the military, in industry, and in the scientific community. He has been instrumental in innovations for ocean observation and has spent considerable time at sea, leading 24 AUV expeditions in autonomous underwater vehicles in locations across the Antarctic, North Atlantic, Mediterranean, South Pacific, and the Arctic. Prior to Hopkins, Jim was at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, where he was founding director of a consortium for marine robotics since 2014, in which capacity he led a range of initiatives to advance robotics innovations, working with regional, national, and global partners. Jim's leadership in the Institute for Assured Autonomy, including his ability to lead complex cross-disciplinary initiatives, is inspiring ideas for new collaborations, research initiatives, and external partnerships, all of which hold tremendous promise to advance the impact Johns Hopkins has on the world. Congratulations, Jim, and please join us at the podium.
It is a great honor to be here, both as an elected member of NAE, but also at Johns Hopkins. It was a long conversation with Ed and my now colleagues here that led to my coming. And there was a lot of nervousness on my part in coming to Johns Hopkins. I have never been a faculty member before. I never taught a class. And so I had a little bit of insecurity about, for example, the tenure process. And I can remember calling up Ed shortly after I learned from the NIE, and I remember Ed's reaction, well, that tenure process should go a little easier now. So, so there's and I have to say that the way I found out about this is I serve on a lot of National Academies studies, and so get a lot of email from them. Of course, I learned by email, and I can remember sort of going through my email that morning and seeing another email from the National Academies and thinking, another study they want me to be on, maybe I'll skim by that one. And I read it and I couldn't believe what I read. And so I had to get my daughter to come in and say, does this say what I think it says? So that tells you a little bit where my head was. It is, I'm still getting used to this. I do find that it does cause you to reflect on all of the people that certainly deserve the credit that you alone are getting when something like this happens. I've been very fortunate to work at tremendous organizations, Johns Hopkins being the latest of them, and with fantastic colleagues. And I have to say that I know that I'm amidst wonderful colleagues here. But my first colleagues actually in the AUV arena had names like Chris Chrysostamides, Nick Petrikolakis, Mike Triantafiliou, and they're kind of referred to as the Greek mafia, and it was suggested on more than one occasion that I should change my name to Bellinghamopoulos. So the other folks that really made an enormous difference in my life were oftentimes the sponsors. I think that most of us, develop relationships with the sponsoring agencies. For me, it was the Office of Naval Research. There was a particular individual there, Tom Curtin, who ran the Arctic program. He had a very large budget, and all of the really big name oceanographers were funded by him. And yet he somehow took a chance on me in a very large funded Muri program back in the early 90s. And it changed my career. I have to say that relationship with ONR led me to here. It led me to develop the vehicles, it led me to the ocean, and it led me to collegial relationships that I probably would have never had any other way. And as a consequence, I think that, you know, a lot of times you don't think of a program manager as being sort of an integral part of the intellectual process, but in my case, they very much were. I also have to say that the seagoing part of my career was simultaneously fun and incredibly hard on my family. You know, there was a period when I was gone about 3 months out of the year and getting ready to go away another 3 months out of the year. And that was even worse because I wasn't home in the evening, wasn't home on weekends. And miraculously, I'm still married through all of that. And the kids know my name. So this is, these are no small accomplishments. I think all of us know that as you're pushing sort of the boundaries of knowledge and whatever our disciplines are, you know, a lot of times we're having a lot of fun and our family is the one in the way, which carries a lot of the weight. And so with that, I'll just say, I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for honoring us at this event. And thank you to all of the people who let me be here. So.
So again, congratulations to our honorees. And I'm going to ask each of you to come up here and receive a gift, a memento, souvenir of being elected to the National Academy from the Johns Hopkins Whiting School of Engineering. Yannis, I could ask you to join me. You can put lollipops in this. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Careful. Russ? Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And Jim. Congratulations. There you go. Again, thank you all. It is truly a pleasure and an honor and a privilege to count you all as colleagues. Please join us now for continuing celebration. There's drinks over there, some refreshments. Thank you all for being here. Thank you.